Hi there, Linda Sherwin here. Does it make a difference if you know the person or not? That's a question that came in from Steve. And Steve, actually, yes, it often does, because you think you know what that person means when they perhaps say things in a certain way or stand in a certain way, but sometimes you're right and sometimes you're wrong. But let me just share with you a little story. I was doing a course for the MBA class at a Florida university, and we were talking about full communication. And one thing we were talking about was body language. And I asked one of the professors to come to the front of the room and do a little talk, do some teaching as if he was giving a class. And as he stood there, I could see the look on the faces of the students. And it was very interesting because the professor was standing holding on to his arms. Okay, so that sometimes is considered to be very off-putting to people, as if you're trying to block anything coming from them. And that was the impression that the rest of the students were actually getting. So after he'd spoken for a few minutes, and sure enough, I did a little poll in the room, and the majority of people thought that he was annoyed at something. They had recently had an exam, and perhaps they had all done poorly. They just thought he was annoyed with all of them, and he didn't want really have too much to do with them. So I asked the professor, I said, John, what's going on with you? Well, he said, very simply, I bumped my elbow just before I came up here and it was hurting. So I was holding on to my elbow. Okay, so there he was in a stance that could be defiant or off-putting, but it was simply he had a sore elbow and he was holding on to it as he was speaking to the group. So you may know somebody and you may think that you're aware of what their, shall we say, nonverbal communication is, but depending on the situation, that may change. But most often, if it's somebody you know, you've got a good idea if they're happy, if they're sad, if they're annoyed. So that's usually pretty good for your communication with them. The tricky part is when you perhaps don't know them as well. They're either somebody that you know slightly or they're a total stranger. Now you're trying to discern from the different ways that they are standing or speaking, their full communication, again, as I call it, what exactly is the message that they're sending to you? So thanks, Steve, for the question. I really appreciate it. And keep those comments and stories coming. I'm really enjoying it. So what I'd like you to do next is to be more aware of people who are close to you. I don't mean close to you as a family, but close to you in distance. In other words, you were looking at people before from a distance, people watching. Now I want you to be a little bit more aware of people that are closer to you. So now you can not only see the gestures they're making or the way they are standing, but now you can hear their tone of voice. Now you can perhaps see some of the smaller gestures they may be making, some of the facial expressions they may be making. Watch a little closer. See what it is that you see, what you think is actually being said to you. What's the message that is being said to you as you look at all aspects of their communication? Let me know some of your stories. Love to hear from you, and we'll talk soon. Bye for now.